everybody. Welcome to another week of It Just Means Less with Tabak and Warren. He's Tabak. I'm Warren. Brother, how you doing this week?
Doing well, man. It was a really good, productive week. A lot of good things coming down the pike in Old Tabak's way. A lot of exciting stuff happening this weekend. Um, we wish the stove was a little bit hotter for MLB right now, but you take what you can get. How about you, my man? How are you doing?
Look, man, you're in Connecticut. I'm down here in Mississippi, and your winter is down here and drunk, prepared for Mardi Gras and playing in my front yard. You need to come get this son of a bitch. It's freaking cold. This accent don't do north of the Mason Dixon during the winter for a reason. I'm not made for
Yeah,
this. But
yeah,
other than that, everything's great.
yeah.
Everything's great. So this week, guys, we're going to talk about a few things. Going to kind of keep it somewhat under control, which probably is never going to happen anyway. We're going to talk about Saban retiring, Belichick leaving, some of the reactions in the NFL predictions. We're going to be talking about the NJPW fallout and the Red Sox topic of my choosing. So, yeah, with that being said, let's get started, man. Saban retiring out of nowhere. The implications of this, Zachary, are huge. I mean, you're already seeing it. And then when they hired the coach from DeBauer, however you pronounce his name, from
The
Washington,
Burr.
close enough. Um,
Yeah,
it's all I
get it
hear.
right the first
Blah
time.
blah blah. Bama's coach, whatever. Anyway, so with him leaving, coming to Alabama, that's done two things. That's opened up the portal for the players for both schools. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that because Alabama, last time I checked, already had 15 enter the portal. That's going to kill them. And these are 15 key players. Um, and then, Washington, well, I wonder how many he's going to bring with it. It kind of sucks that Penix is gone because I would really be curious to see what Penix could do in the SEC. But, what are your thoughts on all this, man?
So I saw a tweet the other day. I don't know how accurate it is, but it makes sense to be put into this perspective that the amount of people that have entered the portal, like the talents that have entered the portal, not necessarily have transferred yet, but this class isolated of the people entered in the portal would be equivalent to maybe like the 15th ranked recruiting class,
Yeah.
like a top 25 recruiting class, which is kind of ridiculous. And this is just from people leaving Bama. Um, the opposite with you're not going to see a lot of people follow DeBoer. Yeah, I think it's DeBoer. Sorry, DeBoer to Alabama is because look how many people have entered the draft. That was their balls to the wall, empty, empty all our ammo. That was their last dance. A lot of those kids. Um, the one silver lining that Washington had going into next year was they got the Will Rogers transfer. That dude entered the portal again. Um, the question is, does he go to Bama? I don't foresee that happening because you still got Jalen Milroe. As much as people wanted to ride him for some of his decision making, um, he is the best that Bama has right now, and I don't think Rodgers would start over him. Um, you see a lot of the ripple effects with basically the only thing that Washington really lost in this situation was their head coach. They lost the program builder. They were basically starting from scratch. I haven't seen a lot of people, try to hop on Noah's Ark to leave, Seattle necessarily as much as it has been for Tuscaloosa. Florida State ourselves, we've gotten five transfers from Bama alone, just us. We've gotten five players. Um, but Bama's being gutted. You're looking at a team with a new head coach. You're looking at a possibly 8 wins next year. Because that they're just losing that much. And that's just people that are on the active roster. We're not even talking about the decommits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, DeBoer is definitely the guy to rebuild Bama, but he's not. He was when they signed him. I never thought that. Oh, he's going to be the one that helps maintain what they have right now. It just doesn't seem like that he's that type of guy
Yeah.
for what Bama needs. How about
Well,
you?
I I mean, I'm kind of happy because hotty toddy go Ole Miss, but uh, this has the possibility of having major implications on their season the next couple of years. Because Saban had the funnel filled up. It's like if you get into sales, you know, if you look at a funnel, you put more in the top, you're gonna the faster the success is going to drip out of the bottom. Well, that's what Saban had set up at at Bama, and I mean, I'm kind of having a heyday with this now. My siblings on my birth dad's side, they're kind of in a panic right now. I know a lot of Bama fans that are in a panic right
It
now.
oughta.
As well, they should be because I mean their tradition is probably going to take a break for a couple of 3 years, and I mean it'd be nice to see another couple of three teams step up in the SEC to make it more competitive because the past several years it's just been Georgia and Alabama, and LSU will kind of show up a little bit here and there. But, I want to see a more even playing field, pun intended, for all of the SEC because that's where my love and that's where my heart is. But it's just this could also open up a big door of opportunity for Texas and Oklahoma who are coming in this year. Texas, they're semi-loaded. I don't know how well this semi-loaded issue is going to impact the SEC when they enter it next year because it's just a different level of football. And people can say, "Well, they beat Alabama." Well, you know what? I mean, Alabama was struggling early in the season, and Saban, he turned that team around. You can't say a player did it. You can't say anybody else did it. Saban is the one that turned that team around. And there's going to be, my prediction is the next couple of 3 years, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle because people don't know this coach. People don't, players. I mean, we're talking the difference between Nick Saban and pretty much any other named coach, or popularly named coach in college football. Period. I mean, there's Saban, and then there's just everybody else. He's just on a different level, and players are aware of that. So we will see where it goes. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited, but first things first, we got to get the baseball season.
Right.
But,
right. True. And we all thought that we discussed this that with the playoff expanding, divisions being dissolved, that we thought that there was going to be an opportunity regardless, because we talked about this 2-3 weeks ago. For your LSU, potentially your A&M if they're able to turn the corner. Texas is as well equipped for this season as they possibly could be. They've lost very few people to the portal. They're a younger team. I think the only real true stud that they're losing a running back and a wide receiver, I think, just because they're old enough. And then Devondre Sweat, who's their nose tackle. I mean, for a team that's going to the toughest conference in college football, I think they could do a lot worse. But I think this definitely blows the door open for perhaps even a really random ass team to scooch up to where Bama would scooch down, like a Mississippi State or like a Tennessee or Florida or a South Carolina if they get their head out of their ass. Like you're gonna see a really weird team next year win 8, 9, 10 games. I'm here for it. I'm here for those weird seasons, but it's gonna be even more amplified now. And DeBoer is not going into a situation where he could just pick up where Saban left off.
no.
Because a lot of people left. And
lucky him if he did, if he could start out that way, No. But so Belichick thing, man. I know they said it was a mutual agreement, but I think that was just Belichick taking the high road, man. I mean, let's look at this. Two of the goats of coaching in football, one NFL, one college, are not in the game right
now. Back-to-back days. It was within 24 hours, both of them
within 24 hours. And on top of that, they're best friends. I mean, their HBO Sports did a like a documentary thing show on them about how close they were, and they spent X amount of time together each year talking about football, talking about coaching, and everything else. And I don't find any coincidence to how many Alabama players have ended up being drafted by Patriots. You know, there's no coincidence in that. So we'll just call Bama the farm team for the Patriots to some extent until now. But
Yeah.
him not being in the play, him not being in the game right now is kind of huge. But I'm a Cowboys and the Saints and the Patriots fan, so I'm not happy to have the knowledge that Belichick is interviewed not once but twice in Atlanta. That sucks because Atlanta and New Orleans, we hate each other. And yeah, I'm not going to be shocked to see him end up in Atlanta. I mean, Belichick's not going to go for a second interview, and if he's not seriously considering this, I think at this point, my guess is that they've already come to like terms with the fact that he's interested in coaching now. Now he's just talking about how much power he's going to have and how much money he's going to make. I think that's the reason for the second interview. I mean, hell, it's Bill Belichick. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. I I think it's the best. I mean, we were talking about possible landing spots. When I found out that the the gentleman, I think his name was Arthur, he got fired. Um, I thought it was the perfect spot for him,
Yeah.
because there are so many different building blocks there that you have in terms of you got Bijan Robinson, you got Kyle Pitts, you got an above average defense, you got an above average special teams unit. Um, the same things that Bill Belichick walked into in 2000 when he became the head coach of the Patriots. They had a good wide receiver. They had decent running backs. And then they just needed the quarterback. Obviously, Bledsoe. Let's give him his credit. He was established at that point. He went to the Super Bowl. He had his Pro Bowls, but you're going into a complete start from scratch situation at quarterback. I mean, you got Desmond Ritter, you got Tyler Heineke. Those guys aren't going to really win you anything. Um, so you're looking at a situation where he probably does want a lot of power. Um, but at the same time, I see him getting out of Dodge with the Patriots because it was the right thing to do. Gerard Mayo has been referred to by Tom Brady as Gerard Belichick. Gerard was one of Bill Belichick's favorite players he ever coached because
Right.
they have a similar mindset. So that gives me some sort of cause for comfort. Um, I just wonder who's going to be the quarterback in Atlanta. I got a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a trade in the coming days. Not coming days, but what I would love to see is basically a trade where we move Mac Jones and maybe a pick or two.
Yeah.
And obviously, we can't really ask for much because Bill's going there and he's like, I want what I want. Uh Young Hoku, their kicker, he'd be perfect for New England. He was on our practice squad back in 2018. He's one of the better kickers in the game. Um, Chad Ryland, we picked him in like the fourth round last year,
Mhm.
and it was really cute the fact that he helped us tank a little bit with those missed field goals. But I don't really want to deal with that next year.
Yeah.
Zappy looks like a guy that's ready to go. But if I could just get their kicker and maybe a defensive back or a linebacker, like just even swap, let him get what he wants because we don't know who's going to be picking the players in April yet for the Patriots. We don't. Gerard Mayo has not been named a de facto general manager yet.
No.
Um, so I mean, Belichick leaving is like if he goes and wins the Super Bowl with Atlanta, I'm not going to be upset. I don't think anybody could win it. I don't think Jesus Christ himself could win in Atlanta. It's just a city of losers,
Yeah.
minus the Braves, but that's formerly a Boston and Milwaukee team, and look how well they are doing.
Yeah.
They need transplants in order to get championships. Um, but I think it's the best situation for him. Arthur Blank, the owner, he's going to throw him a shit ton of money. Um, so we'll see what happens. I'm happy. I'm more if it was somebody else other than Gerard Mayo or Mike Vrabel, I'd be pissed off. But it's not. It's Gerard Mayo, so
See, I was kind of
you know,
expecting Vrabel to be the guy. You know, this them hiring the new coach, what, 48 hours, less than 48 hours after Belichick's departure. I mean,
give or take.
that was kind of a shock. I mean, that was the headline on ESPN and across most platforms, period. You know, but at the same time, I mean, Patriots Nation, man, they're happy about it. I'm happy about it too, but I would have much rather seen Vrabel as the coach. Um, Vrabel to me,
Vrabel, you said?
yeah,
Yeah.
to me, he kind of has more of a. I think he would have more of an impact than the current coach. But that's just me. You know, I know there's going to be people that agree with me, and there's going to be people that don't agree with me. But you know, I mean, what it is kind of hard to look at because we are talking about Bill Belichick. I mean, you know, I mean, hell, how do you even begin to replace him, or can you replace him? I
No.
really don't think you can. I don't think there's another coach out there that equals him on the level of NFL. I mean, that's the same thing with Saban. To go backtrack to him for just a second, who is going to out coach Saban in college football? I don't know of anybody. I really don't. I mean, you know, some would say, well, you know, you got
Urban Meyer had his number. Urban Meyer outcoached Nick Saban basically every time they played. That's the one exception.
he did out coach him, but was it more of just who he had on the team?
I mean, that's the most easiest devil's advocate cop out you could have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
the
because he
thing
beat him at
is
Ohio
that
State
how many
too.
rings does Saban have as opposed to Urban Meyer's rings?
True, but
You know?
Urban has less years in the game, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think Urban has he won two officially, and then they awarded him a third. Like one of the selectors awarded him a third for when he was at Utah with Alex Smith.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know if we want to count that, but um, I think you had the whole situation where Urban Meyer retired, and they arguably should have. I mean, if they didn't have the sanctions when he walked in, I think his first year they went 12-0. Ohio State went 12-0, and they arguably should have, but because of sanctions from Tressel, he couldn't compete for the national title, and that might have been the best Ohio State team he had.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, that's to your point. It's one guy that outcoached him, and I don't know if there's one guy that outcoached Bill Belichick except maybe Tom Coughlin.
Yeah. No.
Like that's it. I'm like there is no replacing Bill Belichick.
No.
You rewrite the book
Yeah.
and you start over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you just wipe it out. Um, you get a new
The
main
only issue
character.
is that Patriots fans are spoiled, you know, and they are going to expect an immediate impact. And I mean, you know, it's like Alabama. Alabama's probably about to have to eat a little bit of humble pie for a couple of 3 years until they figure out what direction they're going to go. I mean,
Right.
this new coach, well, both new coaches, they definitely have a shelf life right now. Show up and perform, or, you know, so sorry it didn't work out, got to go by. That's literally
Yeah.
what both coaches are looking at. And we've never seen in my lifetime, I don't think we've ever seen a dual impact between college and NFL happen simultaneously like this in the history of both, in the history of it, just not in my lifetime, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't
The
know.
real question is, how does this affect LeBron's legacy?
Just fucking shoot me now, please. You know how I
Well,
feel about that asshole.
yeah, no. It's just I don't know how to feel. I mean, like, I think Gerard has a little bit longer of a shelf life just because the reason why it didn't shock me and it shocked everyone else is because this dude had a contract in like a clause that
Mhm.
they could have bait and switch made him head coach.
Yeah.
They're actually saving money by doing this. They're saving time by doing this. They didn't have to go through the whole interview process. Um, and in addition to that, we talked about how many close games the Patriots had.
Mhm.
We had our humble pie the last 3 or 4 years. For me, I just want to see those conversions just a little bit more to make it to get us to like 9-8. I want to be above 500 next year.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in last. And
Mhm.
there's a rumor that they're going to bring back Josh McDaniel for like the fourth time as an offensive coordinator. Um, I'm for that as well because we saw how well he worked with Mac Jones, and I think he'd be even better with Bailey Zappi or whatever veteran we bring in. Because personally, unless we're drafting Jordan Travis in the fifth or sixth round, I don't want to draft a quarterback. Um,
Well,
but
I
yeah,
mean,
man.
I I may or may not hate to throw this into the mix, but Flacco's available for another season. It might be the little boost that Mac Jones needs. To have another mentor to show him a different way, and just kind of go from there. I mean,
Yeah.
but we'll find out around September of next year. I'm looking forward to it happening, but like I said, hell, dude, we're under the 1 month mark, and we got 162 games of Red Sox baseball coming up. So, you know, my second season of the year waiting on baseball season is almost over, and then it's baseball season. So, that's kind of where my mind and heart is right now. So before we go over to the baseball thing, let's talk about the football thing. You
Yep.
got 4 games coming up this weekend. Today at 3:30, favored by 9.5 points. You got the Ravens and the Texans. The Ravens are favored by 9.5. The second game of the day, is at 7:15. It's the Niners and the Packers. The spread for the Niners and the Packers has increased from what was it, 9.5 to 10 now.
Yes.
So Niners are a 10-point favorite. We'll get to that one in just a second. And then you got the Bucks Lions game. Detroit's favored by fart,
6.
old fart status.
6.
6. There we go. Can't tell if it's 8 or a 6. Then you got the Chiefs Bills game. Buffalo's favored by 3 in Buffalo. Uh,
Gonna be cool
so
as
let's
shit.
go to let's go to the first game. First game, and we'll kind of. I know you want to do the reactions from how these teams got here. We'll do this step by step.
Yeah, sure.
Texans Ravens is the first game to kick off today at 3:30 on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus. Um, I don't know if I'm going to agree with Baltimore winning by 9.5. I know Lamar Jackson is a high impact player, but you know there's something that wins ball games other than defenses, and it's heart. And the Texans have shown this heart. If they show up in Baltimore, and the coach and the coaching staff has them ready and emotionally ready to rock and roll, I see the Ravens winning, but I don't see them winning by 9.5. But time will tell. I was watching ESPN earlier, and all 4 of the analysts, or not ESPN, NFL Network earlier, and all 4 of the analysts had the game picked for the over, which I think is at 40.5 points.
I'd
Um,
hope so.
yeah, I mean it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be there's gonna be some touchdowns scored in this for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about that game?
Um, I think I'm past the point of any about being surprised by anything that Houston does.
Yeah.
This season was a miraculous one. They won. I think they won the yeah they won the division
Mhm.
with a rookie head coach and with a rookie quarterback. Who honestly, I'm flabbergasted why the kid isn't in the Pro Bowl right now. Obviously, whatever AFC quarterback makes the Pro Bowl, he's going to take their spot. CJ Stroud. Um, at the same time, nothing will surprise me with the Ravens either. I mean, they have these. I think the last time they had a first round bye, they got blown out.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. I think it was like 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing's going to surprise me in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, personally, for me, with the shits and giggles type of attitude I have when my team's not involved, I want the Texans to win. I think at least the over happens. I think weirdly, if the Texans win, it's gonna be Lamar Jackson outplaying anybody. Like it's gonna be the Lamar Jackson show, kind of like Jerry West in the NBA Finals. He was always the best player on the court, but he never won. I think that's the type of situation you're gonna run into. The fact that they blew out the Browns the way they did completely emasculated them and ruined our hope, my hope for the Detroit Cleveland Super Bowl. Nothing will surprise me with the Texans.
No.
I got the Texans in this one, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. So Packers 49ers. We all knew the Niners, where they were going, where they were going to be, and how it was going to work out for them. But who in the hell saw the Packer Cowboys game coming? I didn't because I'm a Cowboys fan. But I mean, Jordan Love and company, dude, they just showed up and just basically just made the Cowboys their bitch.
He's a
I
bad
mean,
man.
manhandled their ass. I mean, it's been that's been a key point of discussion across all the sports networks, not just a couple, all of them. And it's kind of a heartbreaker for me. But you've heard me say this before. Will the real Dak Prescott please stand up? I don't think Granted, he played at Mississippi State, um, so it's kind of a hometown guy for me. But I don't think he's the tool that they need to win a Super Bowl. I don't think he has what it takes to win a Super Bowl. They're going to have, in order for him to pull this off, they're going to have to surround him with the number one offensive line, the number one running back, the top three wide receivers, and a defense that is just second to none. That's the
Didn't he
only
have
way.
that?
Huh?
He's had that at least twice.
Not too
2016 was his year. It was his rookie
far.
year. You had Ezekiel Elliott. You had, I think, was
Didn't he get injured in 2016 though?
no, he was playing against he was playing in that Green Bay game, and like they had the wide receivers, they had the defense. That defense was loaded.
And he
All
choked.
right, and then you had I'm trying to remember the guy. Who was it? Jason Witten. Witten was still playing for them.
Mm-hmm.
People forget how good Jason Witten was.
Yeah.
Like he's had this. Like it's not like he's playing with a bunch of bums. It's not like he's I don't even freaking know, man. Like it's
Which
not like
even
he's
more,
Jay
which
Cutler
even
with
more so
beard.
supports what I'm saying here. He does not have it. Whatever it is, he doesn't possess it. He can't handle the big game. He can't handle the postseason. You know, I hate it for the kid because his character is second to none. He's a great, great kid. But I mean, my God, man, come on. I mean, you got the Cowboys fans are calling for Mike McCarthy. Well, Mike McCarthy is the fucking problem. The fucking problem is a quarterback. Period. This is why I've said over and over again. I said it a couple minutes ago, and I'm going to say it now. Will the real Dak Prescott please stand up? Because at the times that they need him to perform at the highest level, he doesn't do it. He just doesn't. Look at
He
the games that they lost this season and look at what happened in those games. Turnovers, interceptions, basically just a choke artist. That's all there is to it.
it,
Yeah.
I agree to an extent. At the same time, they overachieved this year,
Yeah.
I think, and they found themselves in a position where they won the division.
Yeah.
What they need next year is to underachieve and slip in as a wild card because they cannot have any more of these. They have to go the hard way.
Yeah.
They have to. They can't have any more of these home playoff games.
No.
For me, because they get too damn comfortable. They need to be the Eagles going in and playing in Tampa. That's what they needed.
Yeah.
And but instead they sneak their way into winning division titles every year and having a home playoff game, and you see what happens. I don't think they've won a single home playoff game. So
Right.
There was a stat that said Baker Mayfield, despite playing less time in the NFL, having 8 different head coaches, playing for 4 different teams, being tossed around like the hot potato that he never deserved to be, has more playoff wins than Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
Could you tell me that any team that Baker Mayfield has had has come even close to being as talented as any team that Dak Prescott has had?
yeah,
No, you can't tell me that he's had an offense as talented. So, um, yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, I'm definitely surprised the Cowboys lost to the Packers. One of my best friends, Steven Rahali, shout out to Steven. He's a Packers fan, and every time I would see his story on Sundays, it seemed like the Packers were losing. I'm like, oh shit, dude, they're gonna win like 5 games. And they turn it on, and now they look like they got not the second coming of Aaron Rodgers. They look like they got a completely different cat. They got a completely different slinger back there. Um, and when it comes to the 49ers and Packers, I feel like we've seen this story so many freaking different times, man. It's getting tiresome seeing this matchup. Um, I got the Niners in it, but dude, Jordan, they're not going to lose because of Jordan Love. I'll
no,
tell you that much.
no. I mean, it's a 10 point. Niners are a 10 point favorite here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make this
They can cover.
right now. If the Green Bay's defense can keep Christian McCaffrey at bay, and the Packers show up and play this week like they did last week, Packers are going to win this game.
Yeah,
And I mean, you talk about a shakeup in this whole playoff situation. There's the shakeup. I mean, because you're looking at that, and then if the Packers pull this off, still a big if, but if the Packers pull this off, they're looking at either playing the Buccaneers or the Lions, which is most likely to me going to end up being the Lions because the Lions are playing at home. And those fans are slapped full of emotion right now, which we'll get to that in a second. But, you know, I'm seriously excited and seriously looking forward to seeing this game tonight because they're
yeah,
not playing on frozen ground in Green Bay. They're playing in San Francisco. So, you know, that's the upside. The downside for the Packers is that the Niners have a home field advantage. But if the Packers can jump on top of these California fans early, the fan impact will have zero effect. That's all there is to it.
yeah.
So,
Because they're not in San Francisco; they're in Santa Clara. You know what I'm saying? Like they're a bunch of transplants, and like the thing with this game that they need to go in there and not giving a shit about who they're playing.
yeah,
Same way they played the Cowboys. Because if you look at the talent levels, Cowboys and Niners are a very similar level. Any given Sunday, or in this case, Saturday. Um, I think the Niners win. I think they cover, but we're going to be talking more about Jordan Love's performance more than we're talking about anybody in the Niners.
yeah,
Um, And Jordan Love is another kid that's going to end up sneaking into the Pro Bowl, I
yeah,
think, once we see who shakes out of the Super Bowl.
yeah. So tomorrow we
So,
got some odd time slots, man. We got 2 o'clock
what the
Lions.
hell is this shit?
What?
What the hell is this shit? 3 p.m. and 6:30?
Yeah, right. It's 2
So
p.m.
stupid.
Central, 5:30 Central. So, that's that's a little different. I don't remember that ever happening before. But you got the Bucks playing in Detroit, man. Um, who knows what's going to happen here? I mean, it's a 6 point. Detroit's a 6 point favorite. I don't think it's going to. I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be a close damn game if Baker Mayfield shows up and does what he's been doing pretty much all the freaking season.
Right.
Um, but I mean, you're looking at Buccaneers at 9-8, Lions at 12-5. So it's just hell, who knows what's going to happen here? The Buccaneers obviously have a strong disadvantage because Detroit is freaking loud, and those fans are so excited right now. It's not even fun. I mean, the Lions could lose by a touchdown today, and I don't think you're going to put that fire out. They're ready to go into next season already.
Yeah.
What the Lions organization has put together as far as that entire team is huge, and the Stafford Goff trade ended up paying off. I mean,
for both sides.
oh yeah, for both sides, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just once again we go back to you show me a losing coach, and I'll show you a coach that doesn't adjust his playbook to the tools he has on the field. That's what these two organizations did. They said, you know what, we're really not a threat to each other. So, your quarterback fits our quarterback fits your coach. So let's get this done. So it's just kind of I don't know, man. It's it's going to be a fun situation tomorrow at 2:00 Central Time. So we'll see what happens there. What do you think about the game?
Um, I think the Buccaneers are going to get their kneecaps bitten off, as Dan Campbell has said. I think what Tampa has done this year, they've proven me right.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield has proven me right. One of my other good friends, Danny, he's been a Buccaneers fan since they drafted Warren Sapp in '95. Because I think he originally grew up in Florida.
yeah.
Um, so I said, dude, don't bitch about Baker Mayfield. Don't You could have gotten Sam Darnold instead. Don't bitch about You could have gotten Carson Wentz. Do not bitch about Baker Mayfield. And he proved me right. Whenever Baker Mayfield is your starter for the whole season, he will produce results. We saw it in Cleveland, all right? And Baker Mayfield is what exactly all of us expected Johnny Manziel to be.
Mhm.
So, everybody's like, "Oh, no, let's compare it to Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M." He didn't do shit at Texas A&M. All right, that was Monte Teo's Heisman. You know, Baker Mayfield was that dude, and he's that dude now.
Yeah.
And I think, if we're not able to lure him up into New England, Tampa better throw a 5-year contract at that kid, because you can't do much better than him.
No.
You could do a lot worse. When it comes to the Detroit Lions, I think we almost saw the meltdown last week, and part of the reason was it was the penalties, it was them not being able to open up holes, it was the pass protection. We saw Penei Sewell kind of get embarrassed last week, but the difference is you don't have Aaron Donald playing you next week.
Mm-mm.
You don't have some guy collapsing in on your entire offensive line, getting in your face.
Mhm.
So, do I think Detroit covers? No, because I don't think I've ever seen a game where it seems this even. Sorry, playing over my head. Um, I don't think Baker is going to let this game slip away.
Mhm.
At the same time, I don't think that Detroit's going to choke. So I think Detroit's going to win. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Just because of how these teams like to chew up the possession, especially Detroit. Detroit loves to chew up the possession. Um, and almost like the fan in me really wants to see an NFC Championship in Detroit, with the Lions versus the Packers. That's why I want to see a week from now. That's must see TV. But for now, Lions need to take care of business, and I think they do that.
Yeah. No, we'll see. Yeah. It's going to be a good game. I mean, this is just
Yeah.
one of those games that if the Buccaneers can hit early, Lions are going to be in trouble because it's going to silence the fans.
Yeah.
If the Lions can keep the fans involved and loud, Buccaneers are in trouble. I mean, it's just that simple. Um,
Yeah.
Golf has been there before, so we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I have to be at work at 3:00 tomorrow, but I may or may not be coming down with something. Anyway, so
I got that COVID 2024.
right, exactly. It just happens on game days. Anyway, so the next game, Buffalo favored by 3:00. By 3:00, dear God, Scott, by 3 points over the Chiefs. Go Bills. I am not a Patrick Mahomes fan. I'm not a Kansas City fan. Really don't like the team. Don't like the city. don't like the barbecue. I mean, my list just goes on for Kansas City. I just really just no. Uh, come on, Bills. I want to see the. I want to see the underdog who has been the underdog for ages make it to the Super Bowl and win the damn Super Bowl. I would love to see a Bills Lions Super Bowl. I mean, you talk about two fan bases that would get pumped up and excited, dude. How awesome would that be for it to end up that way? I mean, it's a big damn if, but I would definitely enjoy seeing a Bills
Yeah.
Lions Super Bowl. I've got Buffalo by 3 easily. I think Buffalo is gonna wreak havoc on Kansas City. You know, the
Yeah.
cold weather's not going to play a role here because both teams are from frozen freaking cities right now. So I just I do I do see the Bills winning this
Yeah. Um, this game bores the shit out of me. I don't know if you saw the look on my face. Again, it's like another movie by Pink Floyd. It's just same pigs walking in and out of the room. I'm tired of it. I'm tired
one.
of seeing these same two teams play.
Yeah.
Not saying they're not even. I feel like Bills have beaten the Chiefs here and there. Um, I'm not really. The same thing with the Chiefs. Like I can't really speak on their barbecue. you know, I can't really speak on any of that. Um, for me, I think I rather the Bills get their title out of the way so we could just shut the fuck up and like maybe move on to the Patriots might maybe doing something. Maybe
Right.
Bills fall asleep at the wheel next year. Um, for the Chiefs, I'm not a Mahomes guy either. I'm a Travis Kelsey guy. I love him and his brother. They're great people.
Oh, I have
Uh,
nothing
tra-
but respect for Jason Kelsey.
yeah, congrats to Jason Kelsey on a great career. It's most likely he's going to announce his retirement any day soon. That's his intention, apparently.
Yeah. Well, he's on the
Um,
fence though. Even he has said in a recent interview that he doesn't know what he's going
right.
to do.
Um, but me and so my girlfriend's a big Taylor Swift fan, and so she's gotten into the whole Kelsey brother situation, and she's really learned and had a respect for their careers and for the positions and for football in general. She's always loved football. Um, I said to her, don't be surprised if Travis retires before Jason, and I think that the writing is on the wall that I think this might be Travis Kelsey's last game. I really think that's his first. I mean, he dealt with so many injuries this year. It's his first year in like 8 seasons with less than 1,000 receiving yards. Granted, he barely made it, but as someone that is a Taylor Swift fan myself, I know that's you're gonna probably roll your eyes at that, but this seems like it's her first real relationship because he's the first guy that has actually embraced the bright lights and hasn't really had an ego issue about it.
Oh, yes.
Same thing with her. Like she's finishing up her tours. I could totally see him just being like, fuck this, I'm settling down.
Yeah.
Because he has nothing left to prove really. He's top three all time. It's Gronk, it's Tony Gonzalez, and it's Travis Kelsey.
Yeah.
The only way he eclipses any of them if he wins more Super Bowls. And the Chiefs don't look like that juggernaut that they used to be. Um, I want the Bills to win just to get the shit out of the way. Um, because I want to see one of these title virgins,
Yeah.
you know, hit their spot.
Yeah.
Um, ideally, you're looking at, Lions versus Packers in the NFC title game. You're looking at Bills versus Texans in the AFC title game. That's some fun shit right there, and you got a 75% chance of seeing a first time champion, and that's all that we could really root for is chaos. So I got the Bills. I think
Yeah.
um, the crowd's not going to be as lit as we might want them to be. Uh, but hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your tables. Um, Bills Mafia is gonna get their get this big win, and then they're gonna lose to C.J. Stroud. So I got the Bills in this one.
I'm leaving that one alone. But hey, we'll go with the Bills. We'll both agree on the Bills. But I think if the
Yeah,
Bills win today, you're not going to stop them. I really do. You know, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be some interesting information happening over the next 24, 48 hours. Um, and it's not just on this; it's on a lot of things. But
yeah,
but hey, we'll see where it goes. So the MJPW fallout. Let's hear it, brother.
yeah. Okay, so I fucked up basically. So there's issues with New Japan Pro Wrestling and this time in like my time zone. So basically, when it said January 20th, I thought it was going to be airing tonight, and it'd be January 20th there or January 24th here. So it was actually this morning, and the one night I go to bed early at like 11 o'clock, I missed the whole damn show.
Ah, shit.
And the reason why I'm annoyed is because the show had now granted I didn't really look like I missed much, but it had a lot of peripheral things going on. Mainly uh about a week or two ago, there's this angle they were trying to produce where Tama Tonga, who just won the Never Openweight Championship at the Tokyo Dome, this guy he's been feuding with Evil. Yes, his name is Evil, all caps. Basically hacked the New Japan roster page and had him removed. Now, even before this, there's speculation that Tama Tonga was going to leave New Japan, spend more time with his family. Now that his contract's basically up, there's rumors that he's going to go to WWE because WWE is having this big Samoan renaissance with the Bloodline, with Roman Reigns and all those guys. So Tama Tonga did end up losing the championship last night. The misdirection and the prophecy was fulfilled, but the biggest story of all is the fact that I messaged you about this 2 days ago. Kazuchika Okada is leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling after 17 years. Now, for those of you who aren't into Japanese wrestling or wrestling in general, the best way I could put it into perspective is that Kazuchika Okada is the Tom Brady of New Japan Pro Wrestling. No one has made it main evented more Wrestle Kingdoms, which is their equivalent to WrestleManias, their Super Bowl. No one has been that guy at the end of the night. No one has won more world championships there than him. I think he's second for G1 Climax tournament wins. He is arguably as accomplished as John Cena in that realm. Um, he seemed like he was a lifer for New Japan, and abruptly, I didn't even know his contract was up. Um, he said, "Oh, I'm leaving New Japan at the end of the month." So de facto, a mid card match on this show ended up being his final match with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, he could go sign somewhere else. He could easily resign, but as of right now, Okada has left the building, and it left me in a shock. And I hope me putting it into perspective, it's almost I haven't been this shocked with a sporting announcement since Tom Brady left the Patriots. That's the only way I could have put it into scope because it just he would always be asked about, oh, would you want to work for WWE? He's like, no, I don't want to work for that kid shit, And now he's arguably the hottest free agent. I wouldn't say of all time, but of the last 10 years, maybe even more. I don't think anyone is going to make as much of an impact this year than Okada. So that's the fallout. Nothing else really happened other than that. Um, a lot of the matches have been panned, but you have two major departures. Um, I think he's gonna go to WWE, honestly. Um, or he's gonna go with the other big promotion we talked about last with Ibushi. He's gonna go to Noah because Noah is having an identity crisis as well. But at the end of the day, he's called the Rainmaker. He makes it rain money. He's gonna go where the money is, and I'm excited for it because we're gonna see a lot of different matchups for the guy. Um, And I think he's top five all time in terms of in ring performance. Like he's up there with Shawn Michaels. He's up there with Ric Flair. He is only 37 years old, and He's already probably, you could say he's the greatest of all time. He is that damn good. So
Yeah.
that's my fallout for New Japan. Pretty crazy, right?
It sounds crazy. I don't keep up with wrestling like I used to. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I grew up when Mid South Wrestling pretty much ruled the Southeast, and I mean, look at
Yep.
everybody that came out of Mid South Wrestling. It's kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
um, in my personal opinion, Cowboy Bill Watts had a bigger impact on wrestling than Jim McMahon will ever think about having. You know, um, because of how many wrestlers and how many names that came out of Mid South that ended up in WCW or NWA or WWF or WWE,
Yeah. No, no.
depending on what era it is. But
No, I
the
love that take, by the way. I love that take that you like. You look at a lot of guys that cut their teeth in Mid South. Now they were more so just straight up wrestlers in Mid South.
Yeah,
But when they went elsewhere, that's when they got a gimmick attached to them, and that's when they become bigger stars. So he had a keen eye for avatars
yeah,
that were meant to be built upon.
yeah.
I don't think anybody other than him really saw that.
And, you
So
know, let's look at two of the two of the biggest names ever is the Ultimate Warrior and Sting. Well, they came into I mean, good gosh, they came into Mid South Wrestling as a tag team.
yeah,
Nobody had ever heard of them, and they showed up just, I mean, bad ass. Let's look at them. Let's look at the Road Warriors, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express. What went on between those two tag teams and Jim Cornette is just amazing, man. It was, I mean, it was. We were literally tied to the TV and hoping that the next big match was going to be in Jackson, Mississippi, because we were loading up to go. I mean, you know, Jake the Snake Roberts,
that's the
Terry
name I was
Taylor,
going to say.
yeah, Terry Taylor.
Ted DiBiase.
Oh, definitely Ted DiBiase, who, by the way,
Remember,
lives
he was
right
just Ted
over here across
DiBiase,
from me
normal
in
baby
Clinton,
face,
Mississippi.
right?
You know,
Yeah, he was just a baby face, and then he goes to WWE and becomes one of the greatest villains of all time.
yeah,
You know, but
Hercules Hernandez, he got his
yeah,
start. Kamala got his start here. Skandar Akbar was his manager. I mean, I have seen every single one of these dudes wrestle live when I was a kid. And it's just, you get me talking about old school wrestling, man, you will see a tear well up in my eye. And I'm talking nostalgia at this point because that's some of the greatest memories of my childhood is going to see these guys wrestle,
yeah.
period.
Here's a name for you. You know, had his first what? Guess who had his first? I believe his first televised match in Mid South. Guess who had his first televised match in 1985 for Mid South Wrestling?
So,
Shawn Michaels.
yeah, yeah,
I think he wrestled Billy Jack Haynes or something like that.
yeah. And then, of
Yeah,
course, there's one name that always comes up in my mind every single time I talk about Mid South Wrestling. It is a
yeah.
wrestler that nobody's ever heard of, but I mean, he was the biggest lick taker, loser. I don't think I ever saw him win a match, and that's Mike Jackson. I mean, he was nothing special.
Action Mike Jackson.
Yes.
He's still wrestling.
No. How
I'm
is this? Now,
dead
this has got
serious.
to be a different Mike Jackson. This has to be a different Mike Jackson because
I'm
this
dead
dude would have to
serious,
be
bro.
80 years old by now.
I think he's 73.
Oh my God. Zachary, do not tell me this.
Yeah.
He was never called Action Mike Jackson. He was called Mike Jackson. Text it to me. I'll know if it's him or not.
Wait, hold up. Let me take the blur off because this is too good, man.
He had a mustache. I don't know if that's him or not. I wouldn't recognize him. That's some research for you to do there, buddy.
But yeah, no. Yeah, it's the same guy.
Oh
Look,
my God, that's
he's
him.
still wrestling.
Dear God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
I'll try to find one of his matches for you. He's been doing a lot of stuff for GCW,
awesome.
Game Changer Wrestling. He's been doing a lot of stuff for Chattanooga. Um, what else? There's not really many independents in the South anymore. Oh, there's WrestleCade. There's a lot of stuff in North Carolina he's been doing. Um, stuff with George South. You remember George South? Um, so yeah, no, he's still kicking it.
That's amazing. Good for him, then. I
Yeah.
mean, so my next question is, how in the fuck is Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery still? How are they still not with the team yet? This blows my mind. I mean, this whole Red Sox fallout this past week between the ownership, the front office, and Breslow. I don't know if it's the ownership trying to save face, point fingers that, well, he hadn't done his job. They're just trying to cover their ass for the fact that they're not willing to spend the money. And Breslow is a former Red Sox pitcher. I'm leaning towards it's not Breslow's fault; it's the front office's fault as to why we don't have one or two or both of these pitchers right now. Write the fucking check. Period. These two guys are not going to have a much longer of a shelf life. We're less than a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting the opening day. I mean, the spring training. This is
Yeah.
this is insanity. How are these two pitchers still available? I mean, seriously, somebody please explain this to me.
I'll explain it to you. It's Scott Boras. It's their agent. His asking price has gone up since the Yamamoto stuff, since the Otani stuff. I mean, think about it. The only people that really gotten anybody is before those signings really happened. Imanaga to the Cubs is the exception, I think, but it's because Boras didn't sink his teeth into him. Um, since then, no really pitching moves has happened. I mean, we saw Josh Hader go to the Astros, but Josh Hader is a reliever,
Yeah.
so it's a different world. Scott Boras is essentially one of the main reasons why Xander Bogaerts' time in Boston came to an end. Because I mean, it's partly Boston's fault. They didn't pony up the money when they wanted the extension. They waited until the last minute, but then they asked for an overprice, and we ended up not paying for it. Instead, San Diego did. And I look at the financial situation San Diego's in. Those guys are going to find a team,
Oh yeah.
but when you're sitting there as an agent for Jordan Montgomery and saying, "Hey, I want 6 years, $164 million," you're out of your damn mind. That's just doing off the top of my head. That's 32 million a year. Really? For a
Yeah.
guy that's almost 30? Blake Snell, I'd take that risk. I'd throw the money at him because he has two Cy Youngs to speak of.
Yeah. Period. I
But
mean, there's no question involved as to if you should write the check. It's when you should write the check, which would be right now. I mean, immediately, because
yeah,
eventually we're going to get closer and closer to baseball season. And I sincerely hope this is not what the Red Sox front office is doing right now. They're waiting for the price tag to go down. I seriously hope that's
so is
not.
everyone else though.
Yeah. I mean,
So
so, you know, I don't, I personally think with that knowledge that you just shared, I personally think that, you know what, maybe we need to put some type of control on agents because they're just going to keep driving up the price, you know. And it's not about their players, it's about their freaking commission, period. You know, what their percentage is. I mean, come on. Don't let greed ruin a good thing. Period. You just cannot allow that to happen.
well that's
I understand it and good for them, but at the same time, there's that. But on the other scope of this, on the other scope of it, if you sign a team and you write the check and you build your team and you have built this team that doesn't have too many egos, that, as you say, are going to show up with their lunch pail every day and win ball games. Okay. If you do this, guess what? The income's going to come. It's going to pay for itself. They will pay for their signing will pay for itself if you have a winning team. But if you don't have a winning team, jersey sales are going to go down. Swag sales are going to go down. Ticket sales are going to go down. I mean, Fenway Park's always going to be sold out. I mean, shit, add $1 to the freaking ticket price. Seriously, do something, do anything, because Red Sox Nation, yeah, there'll be a little bit of a fallout for prices going up. But I mean, damn, this cap
The
here,
prices already are going up.
cap here is fucking $30. I love the cap. Just bought it. It's my favorite new cap. But I mean, man, I remember when I was a kid, you could get one of these caps for freaking $5. You know, I mean,
The prices
you're
are
gonna
going up
make
everywhere.
fucking money.
Listen, they're raising the prices regardless with with the Red Sox with Fenway. Um, I'm not listen. The only reason why I'm gonna Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery not signing is not an indictment on the Red Sox front office or the ownership, because if someone else could sign them, they would. But the fact of the matter is, we're down to maybe, for the price that they're asking, we're down to maybe what, 4 teams, 5 teams that could afford it. Dodgers at this point, they don't need it. Legitimately, like they have the Monstars, but they literally don't need it. You got Houston, they got a great rotation already. They don't really need it. Atlanta, they have a great rotation. I don't think they could afford it. You got Mets. If the Mets aren't bidding on these guys, that's when you know that Scott Boras is being irrational. Because the Cohen would throw money at anything with the pulse that has any level of accomplishment. The Yankees, they don't really need it, but they have the money for it. So that really leaves us. But the fact of the matter is that all these other, like, there should be a Toronto Blue Jays in there. There should be a Tampa in there. There should be a Cleveland. But everyone wants to fault you know, the separation of incomes, and everyone wants to talk about jersey sales. Jersey sales are actually split evenly. I don't know if you knew that. It's split evenly across the league. And you know, the thing with the issue with the Fenway ownership, with the Red Sox ownership, I'm going to call it Fenway because that's what they're called, FSG, is the fact that they're so focused on obtaining other toys, um that they're not realizing that not only they're going to be able to obtain other toys, they're going to be able to win championships in the process. Scott Boras is a I mean, you were talking about putting controls um on agents. Put controls on the teams then. Put a salary cap, put a minimum cap. Because that way you weed out the non-competitive fuckers that just want to play Moneyball.
Yeah.
You put a salary floor, and then you put a salary cap for the teams, and you get rid of all the deferred money. You put a cap on deferred money, because listen, you can't hate the players, you have to hate the game. The agents are just playing by the game, and it's a wild, wild west out there, because that's what Manfred has allowed this whole free agency fiasco to become. Um, Even outside of them, you look at guys like uh Jorge Soler, you got all these other bats. No one's signing with anybody. No one is signing with anybody, and that I don't know if that's a cause for concern, but it would. I don't think there's a stalemate. I don't think people are like, I don't know, we'll wait. I think it's like literally, no, everyone's just saying no, and that's just, I don't know who to indict at that point. But the reason why they're not signed is because no one signed them before Shohei and Yamamoto. I think that's still that. I guess the indictment is on the front offices. They should have thrown big money offers at those guys beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So I don't know.
sitting around, I
You
think that
know,
was a stupid decision and bad performance on the front office's behalf, because while everybody's waiting to see the Shohei lottery and Yamamoto lottery take place, I mean, you should have been signing these freaking players before the price tag did go up.
yeah.
I mean, Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, I mean, if you would have gone to them prior to all of this shit with a solid number and said, hey, we want you to be here, well, guess what? We would have them right now, at least one or both. And, do I think we still need to make a couple of offensive moves in the field? Yeah, I'd like to see another bat show up. We don't need a whole lot there. I mean, we've really
No.
got a solid offense and we've got a solid defense in the field. Um, but it's just, I guess it's kind of bled over into my Red Sox topic of choice. But
Yeah.
we don't need a whole lot, very many pieces of the puzzle here. We literally need one or two. And I think we're good. I think the Yankees have, or excuse me, I mispronounced that. The Skankies have too many. I think they have too many egos. I think it's going to bite them in the ass. I think, everybody should have taken a little bit of an inventory and a solid look at what the Padres did and how bad they screwed up. When you have too many egos in the dugout and they're not playing as a team, guess what, man? They just collected their check. Manny Machado, who I despise and loathe with every cell that makes up of my entire body. Um, I think he's one of their biggest problems. I mean, how could you
Really?
sign somebody with that type of an attitude who has had a bad attitude since day one, who's obviously not a team player, who doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself? I think he is a poison for the Padres. I think he's a poison for any team he plays on. And that's why I'm glad, we were kind of talking. There was a few rumors floating around that we were kind of making an offer for him. I'm like, please don't come to Boston. This son of a bitch is going to wreck any team that he's on
Right.
because he's in it for one thing. He got his paycheck, he got his contract. Now they're at his mercy, or they could just trade him. But I don't think anybody's going to want him. I
Yeah.
mean, this is where our sports world is going right now. It's all about the dollar bills and your players that show up with their lunch pails every day. Well, they just love the game. They love to play the game, and a lot of these big money players, they've lost touch with that. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to be um, the exception to that rule. Um, I think he truly loves to play the game. I think I mean, he has a smile of an 8-year-old every time he walks onto the field. He has the same
Aaron
smile that
Judge
I
too.
have every time I walk into any ballpark, not just Fenway. I mean, I completely turn into an 8-year-old because I just get choked up. I just love the fucking game. I mean,
Yeah.
my greatest memories of my childhood are all based around baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
we had the Jackson Mets here in Jackson, Mississippi, when I was a kid. And dude, I mean, you may not have ever heard of Lee Mazzilli or I can't remember his first name. Lowry was his last name. Um, the New York Mets, they came into town with Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden, and the two coaches. The coach for the big squad, New York, was Joe Torre, and the coach for our team here at the time was Davey Johnson. Two Hall of Fame coaches, two Hall of Fame players. Well, they might not be there, but they should be. Um, and I mean, I have a cover. I would love to find it. In 1981 or 82, I have a cover where all four have signed the front of this program from the game, which, by the way, cost $1.50. I mean, I have such a love and passion for the game of baseball. There's no other game like it. Jimmy Fallon's character in Fever Pitch said it best. You can have a lucky day, but you cannot have a lucky career. You can't fake being good at baseball. You can't. You can have a good day, but you cannot have a luck. You can't do it throughout an entire career unless you show up, you bust your ass, and you just surround and fill your heart with this game, and you play it with the absolute most effort that you possess. That's the only way you're going to be a good baseball player. Um, this game means the world to me, and to see it going in the direction that it's going right now pisses me off. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's no greater game. I'm going to shut up now before you see literal tears coming out of my eyes. But
That's all good,
I
man.
mean, it's just This game's special, man.
It
It's
is.
special.
There's no sport that's more romantic, I think, because you know, um, one of the things that I've been really wanting to do ever since, I've known you for about 3 years now, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
I've known my girlfriend for about 7, and since we really became official, the one place I really wanted to take her to was Fenway. It's not because it's the Red Sox. It's because you know that's the place whenever shit got rough, I pictured myself being. Um, I went there in 2021, masked up and everything because it was still COVID, and I'm immunosuppressed, and I broke down twice. I broke down when I turned the left onto Lansdowne Street, and I saw the vendors still out there,
Yeah.
and the other time was one of our songs is "Only You," uh, by Yuzu it's from the '80s. It's one of those kind of like corny new wave songs. And they got the best organist in the game, Josh Cantor, and he takes requests. I walk up the fucking tunnel and Only You is playing on the speakers, like on the organ. I'm like, I wish she was here. And it's not about the game. I don't care if they have Pablo Sandoval pitching. Yes, Pablo Sandoval. I don't care who is pitching. I don't care who wins, who loses but when I go to that game, it doesn't feel right going alone. It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't.
It hasn't felt right every
Yeah.
time that I haven't
I
had her
mean,
there.
that's the
Getting the
reason
Fed
I haven't been
line.
back up to Boston in the past couple of years is the fact that,
Yeah.
man, you know, every trip that I've made over the past 5 years, 6 years, five or whatever, it's been by myself. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, granted, I meet a bunch of friends up there and we have a good time, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's just something about that game. There's something about that ballpark. Everybody says, well, Disney World's the most magical place on the face of the planet. Go fuck yourself, because I mean, I'm sorry, but the the most magical place on the planet is Fenway Park, and that city block that it just that entire area.
Takes over.
There's nothing like it. I mean, it's like going to a carnival without the rides. Everybody's happy. The smells of the air, the crack of the bat, the wisp of the baseball when you're sitting on the second row behind home plate. I mean, and you're sitting there and you have all of these memories of the history of this ballpark and the history of the game. I mean, the there's just there's nothing like Fenway Park, and God forbid if Fenway management, oh my God, if they ever replace Fenway Park, it's going to be a dark day for baseball. Period. I mean, you look at this background back here behind me. There's nowhere else for the ballpark to grow except up. You know, um, if you go, I don't know if you can see the corner. No, you can't. Um, they could possibly put some more seats around center field here,
Push
and
the
maybe
scoreboard back onto the street, maybe
and maybe
something like
more
that.
on top of the monster, or maybe put I don't know, maybe put a grandstand above the Green Monster. I mean, that's the only place you could put it. But this bad news is that the freaking street is right there behind it. So they're gonna have to do away with that street and those businesses in order for them to do that. There's literally
Oh no, you don't have to get rid of the businesses. You just need to just need the sidewalk.
yeah, but there's literally yeah, you could do that. But I mean, what's that gonna do to the businesses long term? I mean, it's just if all you have is a sidewalk that pass by Lansdowne Pub. I think there's a pizza joint around the corner, like maybe back over here. Yeah, back over there.
Yeah.
What that's going to do to those small businesses, it'll be good for a little bit during baseball season, but not during baseball season. I mean, that's another 6 months out of the year, so it's just there's nowhere for the ballpark to grow. So the only way that they're going to increase their income and maintain the growth of the team and the growth of economics is to raise ticket prices and figure out some magical way to add seats to Fenway Park. Um, but I don't think the fans would ever allow anybody to replace Fenway Park.
It's not like they're hurting.
Yeah,
Anyways, I don't
no,
think they're in that position where it calls for it. I mean, it's not like it's 2007 where they are selling out every game. They're not selling out every game. You know what I'm saying? Ticket prices are high, and that place just doesn't have the same vibe.
yeah,
But
no,
like, what I could see them doing is get rid of the standing room only deck up top.
mhm.
Just extend the grandstand. Like, no, who the fuck's going there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it Fenway is such a special place, and the best part about baseball is that it forces you to talk to the person next to you,
Yeah,
and it's not just like because there's so much stuff in between. Um, we don't really feel like you're missing anything when you're talking to the person, and that
yeah,
that's why it's the most romantic sport. That's why, you watch all these movies. More often they're going to a baseball game. They're not going to a freaking hockey game. They're not going
yeah.
to a basketball game or a tennis match.
Yeah, that's
They're
like
going to the baseball game.
Fenway South down in Fort Myers. I've been down there, man. And right here, about halfway up through the wall, there's seats and netting. That would be, I mean, I've never been inside the Green Monster. I don't know if it's physically possible to build that and to add that to it.
Not at
From
this
what I've
point.
seen on TV and the structure of it, it's not. But it's just you know, I'm curious to see if they can squeeze out another 10,000 seats somehow. More power to them because that's what it's going to
Even
take.
five.
Yeah, because I mean, replacing that ballpark right here behind me is no, it's not an option.
I don't think it'll ever happen. You know why? Because I think it's on the national registry for historic places. I don't think they can fucking touch it.
Oh, praise God. That's awesome.
Let me
But
let me
right
double
now,
check
as
real
we
quick.
sit, my brother, it is 24 days, 10 hours, 58 minutes, and 38 seconds until pitchers and catchers report to spring training. So, with that being said,
You know,
let's go Red Sox.
Go Sox.
Fuck the Yankees.
Fuck the
And
Yankees.
everybody, thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And hey, let's get ready for baseball season. Let's get ready for a hell of a weekend of playoff NFL playoff football. Zachary, have a good week, my brother. Got nothing but love for you.
Thank you, man.
Y'all have
Take
a
care.
good one.